Happy holidays. How are you doing? He's hoping that all is well with you from wherever part of the world you are watching us. This is CNBC, and it's a special. And of course, we'll be talking about a very interesting subject matter, which we'll be telling you in just a bit. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. You can be part of this conversation at CNBC Africa. Tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe. We're talking about the issue of powering our economies through the diaspora, and who best to help us talk about this other than Piera Nayombia, CEO Utabaso. She's been born, raised in Canada, and she's back in Rwanda. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you for joining us in the program.
Thank you.
All right. Also in the program, not new to CNBC Africa, Norbert Haguma, Secretary, Rwanda China Alumni Organization. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Pleasure as usual.
All right. And also with us is Habineza, who's actually the chairman, Rwanda E-Commerce Association, and also founder, International Rwanda Youth for Development, and also founder of Rwanda Online. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
My pleasure.
All right. So we'll probably start this conversation from the easy part. Probably it might be easy for me and not easy for the rest of us. And that is sharing with us the process of deciding to return back home. Probably because we all understand that all of you are returning diaspora. So let's start with you, first of all, Piera. Talk to us a bit about the journey. First of all, the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to pack my bags, I'm going to go back home. Let's start there now.
Yeah, I think it was always part of the plan. I think it was always just the timing, figuring out when is the right time. So I was fortunate enough to come on a visit in 2015, and I was like, all right, I saw what people are doing, especially coming from the fashion industry side. I saw the things that were happening, and I was like, I need to get in now. And so I was coming the next year, and I just decided, let me just stay.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended
that's
up.
how you ended up staying.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to come, and then I was like, what's the point of going back? Let me just stay, see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but you have been in China for 15 years. Right. And of course, did a lot of things, including studying, and stayed there, learned the language, the culture. Now you've been here doing several things as a Rwandan who's returned back home. Take us through your journey there.
Well, I think I'm very lucky because I was fortunate enough to witness the development of China. It went from a third world country, barely developed, to now the world's second economy. And I am going to witness again the same thing this time in Africa, because it's very similar, the state of where China was when I got there and where Africa is right now. It means a lot of people, very active, very vibrant, but we don't have yet the kind of infrastructure necessary to do things at scale. So I'm mostly excited and can't wait to see what's happening next year and the year after.
Right. So you've seen both sides of the world in terms of. So you sometimes sit back and you knock yourself hard and say, why can't we be like them now? Look, they're number two in the world.
I don't think like that. Because even for them, it took China, I think, 50 years of closing the door and not opening it before they could open again and do business.
Right.
So Africa, we had to go through decades of readjusting to colonization, of dealing with some of the problems that were left after the colonization, with the 80s structural adjustment programs, with African discovering their own identity. But I think now we have hit that kind of critical point, especially with the reforms, with the CFTA. Well, Africans are putting things together. We are really coming, and I think the next few years are going to be explosive in terms of development.
Right, I love the optimism right there. How about you, Habineza? Because you said, let's open up Rwanda to those who can be able to see us if they can't through the oceans, which we do not have as a landlocked country. We can get to Rwanda online.
Oh yeah, my journey was a bit different from others because I have been living in Canada since 2007.
Yeah.
So I came back in 2014. This was by the invitation of His Excellency Paul Kagame and the program called Come and See, Go and Tell. So as young people who were doing some things in Canada, we got this chance to come back to Rwanda to see what's well going on. So I toured the country, discussed with people and see what they were doing. What I saw was those young people trying to create some companies and cooperatives doing great things, but they were not known on international market. There was this Made in Rwanda program who was a success as a political program, but there was this business side or the marketing side missing. When I went back to Canada, we decided to start sharing what we saw with other Rwandans living there. That's when we created the International Rwanda Youth for Development. That is a forum that brings together young Rwandan and bring with the Rwandan government and Canadian government to discuss issues, propose solution, and you want to be part of implementation of the resolutions. So we started that organization. From then we were like pushing young people to create businesses. But on my end, I started thinking about how am I teaching something that I cannot do on myself?
Yeah.
So I decided to come back to Rwanda, bring together young people in Rwanda, because I saw that they have talents, but they are missing some guidelines. So we put together young Rwandans. We created this online marketplace where now we are selling all made in Rwanda products abroad, and it's something that is peaking on what we can say.
Perfect. We'll talk deeply about that, which is really interesting. But then when we talk about you know, the global waters, and now I'm referring to the issue of the migration issue. We've seen a lot of Africans dying at sea because they want to go abroad. They're looking for life out there because they seemingly are not getting what they wish to get back home. President Kagame has actually challenged African leaders to fix the issues at home so that we can see how we solve this issue of the illegal migration and young Africans dying at sea. Talk to us a bit about this, because at the end of the day, Pierre, young people, or not just young, others also feel that life is better on the other side than back at home. Share with us your perspective. That has a lot
to do with perception, right? It depends where you're looking at it from. And I think what Rwanda has done amazing is with the Visit Rwanda. So people abroad are able to see what is going on here. So there isn't that same, maybe the urge to go abroad, maybe even regionally. People can look at Rwanda as a place that, you know, rather than maybe going to America, I can come to Rwanda. So I think also it has a lot to do with just changing the narrative, changing the perceptions of our countries also, because sometimes maybe it's also the marketing that those other countries are doing. It's stronger than maybe what's happening on the ground. So people are looking at those places as the aspiration. Whereas, you know, countries like Rwanda, for us, it's the opposite. You know, I look at Rwanda as like the place that I can live my dreams. So I think a lot of it is just changing people's perceptions to be able to see what other places can also be of potential.
Right. And so, Norbert, probably for you, 15 years, you'd have decided to say, you know what, I've lived a lot of my years here in China, so why not just set up here and start a life here and not come back home? Same question without asking it in the same way.
Well, on a personal level, I knew I was never going to live my life in China. That's one of the reasons I chose to go to study in China in the beginning, because I know that you cannot get a Chinese passport. So as a young kid, I really did not want to lose my Rwandanness. I wanted to go somewhere, do what I have to do, and come back. But not everybody shared this kind of idea. But to maybe add on what Pierre just said, I think there's also the aspect of taking care of the Africans who go abroad to be able to do things well when they get there. Because some of the problems that are being raised today is that Africans, they go to Europe, they go to America, they go to China, they sometimes don't have enough funds for what they're going to do. They sometimes don't really know what they're going to do. They just want to go out there. They maybe don't have the kind of training that is required. I think if we could be better organized at putting in places measures to help diaspora, people who are going to live abroad, to have a community to receive them when they get there, to help them integrate when they get there, then they will be more productive members of societies of where they are going, and they would reduce the problem of where they are going. But also by them being better members of society where they are going and being more prosperous there, means they'll be able to contribute much more here. So I think it also comes back to the policies that we can put in place here in Africa, in Rwanda, to say, okay, our people are going abroad, how do we make sure that when they get there, they can be productive?
Yeah, prosperous and be able to bring back some of what they're getting there. Exactly. Let's talk about this, because you put together the youth through this network. And these young people are mostly the ones who seemingly are losing hope back in their original homes and deciding to say, you know what, back here there are no jobs, and so I'm looking for whatever it is in America. And as long as I'm in America, as long as I'm outside of Africa, whatever it is, it's good for me than just staying back here. How do we solve this menace?
Maybe before I start responding to this question, what I can say, there is too many jobs, there is too many things that need to be done within this country, in Africa. The problem is now, how do we see the way we make money out of what we are seeing, opportunities. Because I remember my story when I was back in Canada. I was trying to do things, but you find yourself like in other elements among many of them, that and what you're doing, you can't see the impact that it can bring within the community. So when you come back to Africa, what you see is like anything that you are touching, it can change lives. We are not talking about money right now. We are talking about what can be done, the perspective. But the challenge or the problem that we have with our African people is like we want everything now. It's like I don't want to put like in effort or involve myself in what it takes in order to succeed. So they think that in going to Western, they will have this easy life, they will have this. That's maybe what everyone can think without going back, going there to learn that the life is different, or it's the hustle that is take. What if you put it in the Western life, if you put it in the Rwandan life, you will succeed. I have this like say that you can't be a lizard and say when you grow up you will be a crocodile. You're just a small crocodile that will be a biggest one. If you are succeeding in Rwanda, in the smallest thing that you are doing, you can succeed as well when you go to Canada, when you go to China, when you go to US. So what this Western brings to us is they open our eyes to see that what they are doing, we can still do the same if we come back to Rwanda. So
right. Someone would argue and say it's easier said than done, Pierre. Do you agree? Do you feel it's easier said than done?
It's not. Of course, it's not. It is always easier said than done, right? I think, like to touch on your point, I think it's a lot of it is that it's the perception. You know, people think that you go to North America and life is going to be easier. It's not, because you're adding more barriers than. You're adding different barriers, not necessarily more, different barriers. So, you know, now you're a minority. Now you're an immigrant. There comes other issues that can also be quite difficult to overcome. So I do think that it's always who is selling that story to you. You know, that's where I think perception comes in handy, is that who is telling you that it's going to be easier. It might be somebody that is not from the same, you know, background as you are. So you may find that, you know, the things that you see there, definitely exposure is an important thing. So I think it does expose us to a lot of different things so that we can bring that back home and be a lot more successful. So I do think that it's good for exposure, like you were saying, I agree with that, and just implement it when we come home.
Right, and before we move to the next panelist, Norbert did mention that what is needed is that those who go out are given or get a better environment or a good environment that enables them to thrive in a way that they can be able to still contribute back to their homes without even coming back. And I want to know from your point of view, do you agree that you must not come back for you to actually contribute to the growth of your economy of your original
Absolutely.
country?
You don't need to come back to be able to contribute to the development.
Yeah.
I think many of us I think those of us that were in Canada, the two of us, there's a lot of organizations that are there. There's a huge community there to tell you what's going on the ground, how you can contribute. Without having that knowledge, I think that's where, like you were saying, you don't know. You're not having a community of people that can really give you that information that you need, also to receive you, to help you learn that new environment that you're in, and vice versa. Also working the other way is to know how you can contribute to your home country. So having those organizations there are very important. Having that, being in contact with the embassies. Like we're saying, there's youth groups. You know, in Toronto we had the Kerry youth group. So that alone helped us know, like, how can we contribute to what's going on without having to move back, because not everybody wants to move back. Some people have, you know, they've built a great thing for themselves where they are, so, but they still want to be connected to home. So there's definitely, I think it's important to have those kind of connections.
And talking of connections, we always have here in Rwanda, we have a culture. I'll call it a culture because it happens often and regularly, Rwanda Day. Talk to us a bit about how that is significant in keeping Rwandans in the diaspora connected to their country and able to still contribute in whichever way it is to the development of their country.
Well, Rwanda Day is basically bringing Rwanda to you. So if you're in Canada and there's Rwanda Day in Canada, you get to see so many people coming from Rwanda in all sectors, politicians, businessmen, students, all kinds. If you are in Europe and happen in another country not yours, you get to travel with other Rwandans. It's actually an experience. It's a very good experience for most Rwandans. Just the process of getting there, finding other Rwandans. Let's hire a car together. Let's go visit Rwanda Day or something like that. So I think events like Rwanda Day, which allow for Africans who are outside of Africa to have a better understanding of what is going on in their country and to meet with the people who are coming from the country is a kind of a bridge. It's the best thing next to coming to your country. So it costs less for, I think when His Excellency Paul Kagame had the idea, was basically let's go to them instead of paying for so many people to come and visit Rwanda, let's also bring Rwanda to them.
And so the argument sometimes has been that would it make a bigger difference if people came to Rwanda instead to come and see what is actually happening on the ground than going there to tell them how things are in Rwanda? What's your argument there?
Yes, my own opinion, what I can say is that if people are coming, those young people, everyone that we have in diaspora or in every country, they are ambassadors. So ambassadors need to be brave on what's going on. When you come, because when you go outside of Rwanda, you see many information coming out from internet. Some of them are true, some others are not true. So, but if you come here, it's like you validate what you have been hearing. So if this nobles come from Rwanda, go to China, maybe talk to young people who have never been in Rwanda, sometimes you will say, oh, your information is biased because you have some connection with the country. But if I come by myself, I see what's going on, I have a chance to talk to people, local people, and go to politicians, businessmen. So it gives me some perspective that something is happening. Even though if I put something on table, maybe it will bring some changes. So I think this is
Pierre,
something like that.
To come or to go? What's more effective? Some people have argued that people should be coming for Rwanda Day in Rwanda.
Of course people should be coming, but at the end of the day, you know, not everyone can afford to come. So I think it's, why say you have to pick one or the other? I think it's great that there is the opportunity that we can have Rwanda be brought to us from where we are, but then also have the option, I think, without having Rwanda Day, I'm not sure that everybody would have the same excitement necessarily to also come to Rwanda. It's that thing that sparks that want to come to Rwanda for a lot of young people. And I think a lot of young people, sometimes they're students, me having participated, many people were very young. So I think not everybody has the same opportunity. So I think it's really important that we have both.
It's important that we have both. And that's why I think we have...
It's not one or the other.
I
think Rwanda Day is a way to get close to the people. And most of the times, those who attend Rwanda Day for the first time end up coming. So they'll be like, let me go see how Rwanda Day is. Then I'll make a decision on whether or not to go back home.
All right. And so there's also this thing that always comes with diaspora, and that is the remittances. Money sent back home because you're there, and people expect that at least life is better where you are, and so you'll be sending something here. And when we look at the numbers, the inbound remittances to Rwanda are reported to have actually increased by 17% from $115.4 million, you know, in the fiscal year of 2015-2016, which actually rose up to $181.9 million in 2016-2017. But the thing is, how do we look at people in diaspora beyond just remittances? Because this has always been that yardstick. You know, we know them because they have to actually send back money. How do we do this, Piera?
You know, I think there's other opportunities that we can look at rather than just who can send me money. I think the thing also is to show how we can invest. How can the diaspora invest in our economy? So I think that is something that, you know, we need that kind of information to be shared. Also, not just the ways that you can send money, but also the ways that you can invest easily. You know, talking more about how you can start a business. You don't need to live here to start a business necessarily. So I think all those things are important, that we know that information so that we can use the diaspora and what maybe the money that they're making, maybe they are making more, is to see how can you invest that in the country.
Right. No, but how do we look at diaspora beyond just the remittances?
Well, you just need to look at China and Israel, with some of the best diasporas in the world. The diaspora of Israel is not mostly in Israel itself. They're outside the country, and they prosper wherever they are. And their prosperity contributes to the prosperity of Israel. So I think that the message that has been passing around in Rwanda recently is that if you're a diaspora, you have to do good wherever you are. You have to represent Rwanda well. You have to excel in whatever field you are doing. And by doing that, you'll be making Rwanda better somehow. But going to the aspect of money, actually, like Pierre said, we need a lot of investment on the continent, but we also need a lot of expertise. We need a lot of mentoring of our young startups. We need a lot of research and technology. We have many Africans who are doing very well in world-class universities, who are wealthy, who can contribute to the development of many industries on the continent. We need to involve them more, and we need to go to them, not the other way around, who was here.
Right. Habineza.
I see it in most of the time, knowledge transfer. Like, we need the skills that people out there have to be used in Rwanda without even being on the ground, so they can share it remotely. But other things can be on the export side, because we are talking about exporting made in Rwanda product. We need them to become ambassadors or consumers. If they can consume our local made products, they can be as well the ambassadors around there where they are. They can put this product on shops and everything that they can. But I think that we have many Rwandese that have connections, good connections, be in business, be in the research, science, and everything that go with the economy.
Yeah. If I may add, I will give you a concrete example. So Visit Rwanda was recently launched in China on Alibaba, on Alibaba's website called Tmall, which is one of the biggest websites in China. And the first people to go buy Rwandan coffee are Rwandans living in China, or Chinese who lived in Rwanda. And the people who share this on the social media, again, are Rwandans living in China, friend of theirs, and Chinese who are familiar with Rwanda. So the aspect of the diaspora serving as a marketing tool for the country is extremely important. Sometimes, before we had Made in Rwanda, before we had all of this technology, it used to be that if you wanted to take something from home, you waited for somebody to come from home to bring it. But now you can actually order it online. And once you start ordering online, when somebody has a birthday, you give them Rwandan coffee. When somebody has maybe a baby, you give them something else. Or you just find a way to include Made in Rwanda into your life wherever you are. So that's the benefit of having the technology now. And I think it points out to the future role of some of the diaspora who are living in these developed countries, is that they can be as a marketing or a way for people to get to know more about the products of this country.
Yeah, but still, like Piero said earlier on, that information is needed on the areas of investment that are available, so that those in the diaspora are not just seen as, contributing through the money they send to their family relatives that is then used within the economies of the original countries. So Pierre, what is it that you'd want? In which form, in which way? For officials listening right now, watching this, and they are taking notes and saying, you know what, we want to improve on what she's saying. What are those areas would you want to say?
It's targeting people in the way that they receive information. So if it's social media, let's go with that. I think Visit Rwanda is an amazing campaign. I think having those platforms on social media is super important for those in the diaspora to see what's going on. So I think continuous information that way. If it's through Rwanda Days, I think that's also important, because there's a ton of young people that participate in those events. So I think it's just really doing the research and knowing exactly how, millennials are receiving information, and that's the way that you need to promote the opportunities of investment.
Yeah. And so social media, talking of social media, there's the rise of influencers. Let's talk a bit about that and how they are connecting the diaspora and their homes. And I'll start with you, Habineza, because you are the tech guy here in terms of the connectivity, in terms of the Rwanda online and all that. How significant will they be? Because Rwandan influencers are budding. The sector or the field is growing. It's coming up. How do you see them plugging or helping in actually creating that bridge that has been missing, that link for those in diaspora, knowing what's going on back home and how they can pitch in?
Let's say, first of all, that the future of Africa is digital. So there is no way we can do any businesses or anything that is really of a big value for Africa without using these digital tools. So young people in diaspora or everyone out there, they are on those social medias, be Facebook, be Twitter, and many more. So wherever we are putting, and they are looking for information. Everyone, when you go to a Western country, everyone is willing to know by himself. So it's not like as Africa, we want to understand what everyone has to tell without getting information by ourselves. So if people are out there on those social medias, so that's where we need to be. As our politicians or our businesses need to be on that tools that are there to disseminate this information. Yes.
No, but
I'll give you an example. So at Rwanda China Alumni Organization, we are currently organizing a Rwanda China Friendship Photo Cup. So we've asked Rwandans and Chinese to take the best pictures of Rwanda and post it online for a competition, and the winner will get a ticket to come to Rwanda, and there will be a gala ceremony and all of that. The objective is very simple. Use the Rwandans who are in China and the Chinese who are interested in Rwanda to spread the message about Visit Rwanda. That is, again, the influence that you're talking about.
Yeah.
When you talk about influence, it's not necessarily that you have Shadibu, who is hundreds of thousands of followers, or I don't know how many, is not the only influencer. Anybody who has some kind of trust, people that trust them, anybody who has some kind of a reputation can be a good influencer. So in this way, we are targeting photographers. So you have very good photographers in China and very good photographers in Rwanda, respected for other works that they have done. And because of the influence they have in photography, you can use them to get benefit for the country.
Right.
So that's one way of looking at it.
Plugging them in. Pierre, how about you? What do you think?
Absolutely. I think social media is the way of the future right now, I think. So even for us as in fashion, social media is imperative to our businesses, and it's also important to use social media to gain market. So using social media influencers, I think for us, even our business, we see that works. That's what works to be able to get the diaspora to know what we're doing, to get other people that maybe don't know about our brand. It helps to see, and also understanding the behaviors of customers. You can tell, you get a lot of data from using social media. So I think that's also another side of it that's really important, is to be able to do research with that data as well.
Right. So we need to grow this key social media players and also be part of that, so that we'll be able to leverage.
We need to monetize it.
Leverage,
I think we need to find a way to give them more money,
Right.
the influence, and they will have more to give us.
More to give. Perfect. We're going to take a very short break. And when we come back, we now talk about the fact that you took time, made that very big decision, fought within yourself in terms of, should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? And then you decided, I'm going home. We'll talk a bit about that and the process of coming back and setting up the businesses that you now do here in Rwanda and the activities you do, all right, when we come back. So stick around. We're going to take a very short break. And, of course, if you want to be part of this conversation, at CNBC Africa, or tweet me directly at Eugene Anangwe. See you on the other side of the break. Right, thank you so much for still being with us. Welcome back to this CNBC Africa special. Our focus is on the role of those in the diaspora in the socio-economic development of their countries of origin. And we're here with none other than Pierre Nayombia and, of course, Norbert Haguma. And we have Habineza. The other name is a bit tough to say, and that's why I'm avoiding it deliberately.
Joris.
Joe?
Joris.
Joris. All right. Thank you for that. Now, before we went for the break, definitely we looked at a number of things when it comes to the whole thing of being diaspora. Now, let's bring it home in terms of the choices that you made to come back after spending many years of your lives away from your countries of origin. Pierre, I'm going to start with you. You are now in Rwanda, successfully running a fashion line. Talk to us a bit about that. First of all, the psychological journey of asking yourself that question, to go back or not to go back. How easy or how difficult was it?
It was challenging, I think, to determine the time, because I think that's always the thing, is that you think, okay, I'm this many years out of school, I have this much experience, am I ready? I think that for me was the biggest challenge, was really determining, am I ready to come here? And I think also it's really about just, I had to take that leap of faith. I had to get out of my own head and just say, okay, now's the time. So I think, looking back, I think the timing was perfect. I think I came at the right time. I had enough work experience to be able to bring enough to what I'm doing today. And, you know, the ease of getting into what I'm doing being at Odbaso, working there, and really trying to push that business forward, I think I was at the right state of mind to be able to take that challenge on.
Right. So when you decide that you know you have the right experience, could be that part of the component of making that big decision of saying, I'm coming back
Yes.
home. Perfect. No, but for you, it might have been easy because it was education. Education is over, so go home. Was it as easy as that?
Not at all.
Yes.
So first I did education, but then I stayed in Beijing and I worked for many years. So I knew I wanted to come back, but I didn't know how or to do what. So the first step was to come and visit more often. I used to come back maybe once a year or once every 2 years. Started coming back more often. Second aspect was to find something in my field that I can do. So I found some opportunities. I helped a number of Rwandan companies to do business in China and the other way around.
As you earned a coin.
Yes, as I earned a coin and tried to finance my return.
Yes.
And so it was a very progressive step. Actually, to make the decision, I'm going back, I never really made it. It's just gradually, I decided, okay, I'm spending 3 months in Rwanda now. Let me spend half a year, and just like that.
And then you say, my staff back in Beijing, what do we do about them?
Well,
Connect with someone to sell them. Oh, you still go back?
I still go back. But the difference is really to know where you are based.
Exactly.
So for me, the biggest decision was, because before I came back, let's say I'm changing a little bit of my area of expertise these days, but I was mostly on China-Africa trade and investment. So helping Chinese invest in Africa and the other way around. And the question was always, is it better to be based in Beijing or somewhere in Africa? And up until a couple of years ago, it made absolute sense to be based in China because most of my customers were Chinese. The understanding that I needed to have, the people I needed to meet with there. But because of how fast Africa is growing, that has changed tremendously. Now you find there are so many more people who are doing things here.
Yes.
The expertise that you need to have is the one you need to have here. You need to understand Africa better. You need to be on the ground to be able to capture the really fast-moving information and all kinds of new opportunities on the continent. So my decision was, where am I going to be based? In Kigali or in Beijing?
Right.
And in the end, I chose Kigali. And the reason why I chose Kigali is the mice industry, the CFT and all of that, this tremendous energy that we have now, which makes it that even though Kigali is not yet on par with a major city like Beijing, it's growing so fast, it makes it interesting to be based here.
Right, perfect. Habineza, for you, despite or other than just getting that presidential invite to come and do what you did, how was it like saying that now I'm coming to be stationed here in Rwanda?
Yes, the decision was a bit challenging based on that I come from a family that has no business background. So when you trying to succeed in Canada, work, I had a job and I had some other small businesses that was not a bit big, but that time you decided to come back, everyone questioning, why are you going back? Are you crazy? Everything happening in Rwanda, you know, the politics side, whatever. When you go out, especially Canada, there are too many things that are being said around in the background. So taking that decision to come back to Rwanda, I can say it was not easy. I got this push from my fiancée, who happened to be my wife, that come back and tell me you can do it, because I'm that guy who is a risk taker. I don't like things that are just normal.
Easy
Easy,
no.
I don't feel good. I did it when it's something that make me feel like I'm stressed. So that's when I decided to come to Rwanda, start the businesses, and I started. It was going to be easy if I did the e-commerce on normal product coming from China. That was going to be easier for me. I didn't even took that the easy direction. I took the made in Rwanda that was like
still
abandoned.
Fresh,
well,
zero.
everyone told me you can't do it, you can't sell it, you can't. That's when now I do it to prove everyone that yes, it can happen. It's not easy, but and that was the message that I wanted to give to young people, young Rwandan people, that whenever everyone says it's not easy, you can't do it, that's when you need to do it to prove them that they are wrong.
Yes. Powerful. And what I'm hearing from the three of you is that you need to know where you'll plug yourself in when you return. And that's usually sometimes really difficult, because if you left a couple of years ago, that means if you stayed out there for many years, you've even lost your contacts. So meaning that when you're coming back, you sort of have to start afresh in your own country. Take us through how you managed to do this when you were coming back and said, I'm going to start with Basu.
You know, I think a lot of us have been fortunate enough that we have communities here, that we still have family. We have maybe friends that have also returned. So I think, fortunate enough, there was a big Canadian diaspora that had moved back home. So I was able to reconnect with a lot of people that I already knew. And then also having family. And even before moving, I think when we were talking about earlier about making sure we have that information, making sure that information is getting out to the diaspora, is I was already able to have that information before I even came. So I kind of had maybe an outlook of kind of where I'm going to go, what kind of thing I want to do, what I can contribute to. So I think starting with that information, I was able to kind of make it a little bit easier, and then just leverage whatever connections I have, whether it's family, friends, you know, anybody. That's how you kind of got to navigate that.
Right. And did you have to start from scratch, Norbert?
Well,
how easy
I fully agree with Pierre. Is that first of all, if you are already involved in the diaspora, in your community where you are, it becomes much easier to adapt once you return home, because that network begets another network once you get here. Secondly, family, extremely important. I wouldn't have done much without my family being here. But one very important aspect that you touched upon is that I left, for example, right after high school, and by the time I came back, everybody had gone to university together. So my only friends were my high school friends. And people had made tremendous working relations. People have been working together, or they went to university together. It was very tough and kind of a climb for me to get into those circles. But, you know, you always find the ways.
But how did you find those ways? Talk to us.
No, you just, you're persistent. You don't give up. You know, you find somebody and you go after them.
You go after them.
You find networks, you find people, but, you know, usually when you're passionate about something, when you are into a field, a certain field, when you're active into something, it is much more easy to find what you're going to do.
And this must be one of the biggest headaches, biggest challenges to anybody in diaspora wanting to go back home, is how do will I get a job when I go back home? Will I be able to sustain myself? Because if you have family that you have actually been the one supporting while you are away, they will be needing some support. And so maybe that connection in terms of the job would be difficult in terms of trying to look for new people who will be able to connect you, new contacts and all that. Hawineza probably talk to us a bit about that, because you said you love the tough things. But let's talk about those people who maybe are not of the same kind of, made or molded in the same way. What sort of advice would you be giving them if they want to come back and it's difficult to make that decision in that line?
Yes, the advice that I can give is like, when I started maybe going to my solo, when I started, it was, I went to Canada without any family member, and I didn't know anything about Canada. Even when I went for the first time, I didn't know what I was going to do in Canada. It just happened. It was a friend of my family. I was playing some piano and organizing young people in Rwanda. A friend come to me, meet me in church, and say, you should go to Canada to study there. And that friend helped me in everything. Then when I went there, I started from scratch and connecting with the people, Canadian, and I starting playing piano in churches. I learned piano in Canada, and we bring together young Rwandan people. We created a group, a traditional group, Rwandan group. That's when I started to learn the dancing stuff with the Rwandese. So from there, when we started the group, I didn't want to be the president of the group, but I wanted to be the marketing manager and the partnership manager, because I was thinking about creating the journey that I will be having going back to Rwanda, or anything that I can be doing in Canada. So why I chose the marketing and the partnership, everyone who was working to the barre couldn't call the president. He had to call the partnership manager and the marketing manager. So you get those contacts while moving on. So you try to understand, because every time I tell people that there are some people who have this social advantage. If you have gone in the family that can help you and can push you in that, you have a social advantage that can give you more advantage on others. But if you don't have them, you need to create them. How do you create them? Getting involved in those social life that are not paying for the moment. Because I remember when I was in Canada, people used to call me that I have nothing to do because I was always in Rwandese people, helping people go understand the question, help them if they are moving. Someone coming from Rwanda, I try to help them, pick them from the airport. But that keep pushing that when I got the invitation from the president, it didn't come from like someone pushed it. It's because I was doing
What
something,
you're doing,
then it pushed me.
It pushes you and creates even a new network for yourself. How is Utbaso doing? I mean, how many years since you started now here in Rwanda?
Yes, so Utbaso started back in 2014.
2014.
Yes, so now we're going for 4 years, almost going on our 5 years.
Yeah.
And you know, we're growing. I think that's the thing, is that it's just seeing the development and seeing the fashion industry change so much from the beginning to now. So I think that's always very encouraging to see how Made in Rwanda now, there's a big push for it also. So the environment is even better than it was when maybe we began. So I think that's also to see how where we're going is looking very promising.
Right. Startup capital, like how much did you need to say, okay, this is enough for me to start back at home?
Well, I think it started on social media. So that was how it started, is just make your order. This is a picture of what we can make your order, and then go from there. So I think having that vision of knowing how social media can be so powerful, and then now we have a store, now we're expanding. So I think that's sees the progress.
Right, because people always, when you talk of Made in Rwanda products, especially the things to do with clothes, some people say that our people in the industry are not still able to scale up in terms of how many pieces can you do. You only rely on celebrity so and so would like to have a piece to go and do an MC gig, and that's it. And then after that, there's no one else. Talk to us a bit about how difficult, how easy that is.
So I think there's a lot of challenges that come with production. I think the infrastructure is not necessarily there yet for a lot of our SMEs. We're not there yet to be able to mass produce at that level. But I still think that ready to wear is something that's a little bit maybe different than the custom, the things that people just say, okay, I want to order this, and you just make a per piece by order. So I think that's something that we saw in our business that can work, is ready to wear. So that's kind of the direction that we've really pushed and moved away from that maybe traditional thing of custom where people just order by piece. We're now producing larger quantities of ready-to-wear items.
And how many people are you, can you say, I'm actually offering employment opportunities for Utbaso?
Sorry? Say
employment opportunities. How many people?
Oh, so we worked with over almost 300 artisans now.
Wow.
We started with only working with 4. So I think that also shows the growth of the business. Full-time employees also started with 2. Now we're almost at 10. So I think that also just shows the different opportunities that Made in Rwanda can really offer the community, and skills, different skills, really capacity building is really important for our business.
And these are people who today, thank God, that actually Pierre decided to return back home, hopefully. No, but you have been able to put together probably, those who are in China, in Beijing, and probably even looking at the role of the returning diaspora. I mean, you spoke earlier on of the need to create ample environment, a good environment for those who go out there so that they can thrive and be able to still remit back home. Now, let's talk about what you need or what you think is needed for those returning back, so that they can settle properly and continue in this wheel of development in their original countries.
For the people who want to come back, it should not start from the moment they arrive here. It has to start 6 months, 1 year, a number of years before they come. I would even go further and say that it's very, very important to link certain industries like fashion professionals in Rwanda, with people in the diaspora who are passionate about this, who have some capacity about this. Because going forward, I think in Rwanda we need to be very good at everything that we do, whether it's fashion, whether it's music, whether it's manufacturing. We need to be good at it, and that means we need to be able to take the talent from wherever it is. If there's a Rwandan who's very good in a certain field, you need to be able to reach out to them as a Utbaso and say, I found a great designer in Holland, can I talk to them? Can they do something with me? Can I work with them? So you have to go before they come back, you need to be able to reach out to them. That's why it will be important to link specific industries between Rwanda and the diaspora.
Right.
Secondly, you have to also think about the education. Most of the times, people who go abroad to study, they don't, I left at 18, like I said, I did not know what I was going to do when I grow up. Yes, I had a vague idea. I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't really know how that industry works. Because I had no contact with anybody in Rwanda who was doing the same thing, I was not able to write my thesis on the subject that could benefit the country.
Yeah.
I was not able to get the information about the reality of where this technology is or where this industry is, so I can contribute more to it. I think by having maybe some kind of connection between education institutions in Rwanda and those Rwandans who are studying abroad, to help them to study things that will directly benefit Rwanda and will guarantee that they can get jobs when they come back.
And get jobs and also create.
And of course, create jobs.
Right.
And we have to really pursue excellence in Rwanda in general.
Yeah.
I think that is the mood of Rwanda right now.
Yeah.
We have Visit Rwanda, we have Made in Rwanda, we are trying to achieve excellence. So the excellence does not stop at the border.
Yeah.
It continues.
It continues.
Yes.
Perfect. Happiness, I mean, he spoke of linkages. You seem to be the man with the links in terms of Rwanda Online. How then, or what is it that you're doing within your space to actually allow for these linkages to take place? When you came back, how was it like before you started and where you are today?
So when we started, was a bit challenging because, first of all, convincing someone who has been doing his little businesses to tell him that he can sell online, it was the biggest challenge that we faced when we started. But as per now, we have more than 50 sellers or manufacturers that are already selling on our platform. And we have been able to train them. We have a partnership with the city of Kigali. We have trained more than 300 cooperatives on how they can use social media and those tools that allow there to sell their products. And we will have more orders coming from US and Europe. So challenges still are there. When we are talking about logistics is very costly for us, payment system, but like the government is putting more effort on e-commerce. Everyone is focusing on this e-commerce because it's the future of these businesses. And the other thing, we have been able to connect Rwanda with other countries. We have already signed an MOU with the Ghanaian government, so we are helping them to promote and to sell their products online. So this is something that have been happening. And you have many Rwandese now. I have many Rwandese young people in the diaspora asking where they can invest their little money, even though they won't be able to come back, but they are looking for a project where they can put some money. And I think this is something that the government or business people can think about to see how we can correct that money from, it can be 5,000, not big money, but this is a little money that can help some startup or SMEs that are struggling to break even.
Right, because we're talking about, if you look at the numbers, 200 million Africans in the Americas, of course, tens of millions in Europe, and of course a growing community in Asia, and those Rwandans also involved or included in these numbers. Do you see, or what will it take for Rwanda Online to grow to a magnitude of the Amazon that we have today?
Good question. But what it's gonna take is we are seeing how we can work on e-fulfillment. Say, how can we have, because online, like those tools, social media, what they help us is to understand data. This is something that is missing on African market. We don't know who is buying, when are they buying, who is producing, what are they producing, because we had some orders where we cannot fulfill. Because I had this order from Italy. They were looking for 500 kgs per week for green, yellow, and red paper per week, every week. So you can sign that kind of agreement because you won't find this kind of production right now per week, every week. So we are saying that if the production, what you're doing is capable of sustaining the production and the quality, and we will be looking for e-fulfillment, having what is needed in US, we have them in US warehouses, and go to Europe, we have some warehouses in Europe, and create, sometimes we forget the African market. It's the biggest one that we can even tap on without going abroad. But sometimes when people are doing some marketing, they forget that around us, we have big markets that are untapped.
Right. What would it take for you to scale up to the level that he can actually say, you know what, because he says that opportunities are there.
Yeah,
but the issue is just the supply is
yes,
a bit missing.
and that's very true. And I
Yeah.
think that, like you were saying, we sometimes forget the market on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even for us, we saw by experience. You know, when we first started, we thought that maybe the biggest customer would be the expat, maybe it would be abroad, the export market, but we found our biggest customer is local. So I think that too is maybe changing business models also and focus more on the continent, because the continent does have a lot of purchasing power. So I think that will also help us scale our businesses, because more money, if we look at targeting different markets, even just in the region, we can see that we can make more money, we can scale our businesses because more money is coming in.
Right.
If we're looking for investment also, we need to look at what's around us, what's going on in our neighboring countries, and how can those countries invest in our businesses also. So I completely agree in terms of production is what's needed. We need to be able to fulfill that.
Right.
And many of businesses, I think, have experienced that. We've experienced that ourselves with orders that we were not able to fulfill because they were too large.
Right.
And that's such a shame. So I think it's really important that the infrastructure needs to be there for that these SMEs are able to grow.
And this is the time that people are saying is either now or never, because the drive, the push, the ambition, the momentum is real. It's there for scaling up on made in Rwanda.
And I think even on top of that, the environment is favorable.
Yeah.
So right now, this is really the time that we have to focus on how we're marketing our businesses. How are we selling what made in Rwanda is? Yeah. Are we portraying it in a light that people want to invest in it also? Is it at the standard of the export market that we are able to scale our businesses to fulfill the demand that is there? Because I think the demand is there for made in Rwanda items. It's just, are we able to keep the quality of what it needs to be able to fulfill those big orders of like 5,000 units or whatever that may be.
Right. Want to take same question? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. First, I want to point out that I was thinking while she was talking that probably Rwanda's biggest influencer is President Kagame.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you can tell from Arsenal and from President Kagame, when you look at who follows them, who retweet them, or who is into all of this Visit Rwanda campaign, it is indeed mostly Africans. But for me, I'm more interested on the aspect of investment. So, Ananga, as you know, I work hard on blockchain technology, even though my startup is not out yet, but you will know soon.
Yeah.
What I'm working on is exactly that, is how to get people who are outside of Rwanda, who are even outside of Africa, to actually invest in African businesses. Now, the biggest problem we've had when you talk about investing in African businesses is how do you evaluate a company in Africa? It's extremely different for how it should be done in the West, and nobody has really figured it out. So what we're trying to focus on is that instead of investing in equity, why don't we invest in assets? So we find often that Africans have a problem. I will give you an example, is the biggest investment in Rwanda, as far as I'm concerned, after land, is motorbikes. So a lot of people owns one motorbike, two motorbikes. You cannot go beyond 2 or 3 because then it becomes a full-time job. Because you need to run after the motor guy every day to get your money. So it's very challenging in terms of management. But this is the kind of asset that somebody abroad can invest in. They don't need to be here. They can say, okay, I'm buying this motor, somebody will manage it for me, it will bring my money back in 1 year, let's say, I will add 1 more year for benefit, and after 2 years, I will give it to the rider to do whatever he wants with it. There's an incentive for the rider to take good care of it, because he knows that after 2 years, the motor will be theirs. But now you can look at Hotbasso and say, well, our machinery cost $3,000 one. Hotbasso doesn't want to buy those machinery. Can Hotbasso pay us a certain amount per day for the use of this machine and we buy it? Or can maybe Jores, for some of his equipment that he needs for his business, can we invest in specific equipment for his business? So this is something that we're exploring. We've been exploring for a number of months using blockchain technology, and I think it will happen. But it's a very different approach because we tried the equity part and it was full of nightmares. First of all, apart from a country like Rwanda, where you have a centralized credit bureau, in the rest of Africa you don't have that. So you cannot ask people to provide the information online. You cannot check if the company is registered.
So it becomes a challenge.
So it becomes a huge challenge just to do the background check on individuals or the companies. But in Rwanda, actually, it's quite easy because it's called centralized. You can check somebody's identity, company, credit, all of that, you can do it. But you cannot do it for the rest of Africa. So we think that this method of, yes, there's a lot of money in the diaspora, and in fact, they want to invest in the continent. they don't know how to invest in. If you tell them invest in businesses, they don't understand businesses.
Yeah.
They're not on the ground.
They're not on the
But if you tell them, well, this is a construction company or this is a logistics company,
And
they
someone
need
will
new
manage it
trucks,
for you. Yeah.
they need do this, everybody understands assets.
Yeah.
So it's a sort of modern leasing model for Africa.
Perfect. We can't wait when you finally
You'll be the first to
go
know.
live. Thank you. Now, one last question with a yes or no. Do you ever get to a point, Habineza, where you say, I wish I would just go back to Canada?
Yes,
Yes
As a
or no?
startup, yes, there is ups and downs. That moment you think it's tough
Yeah.
and you don't know how you will reach
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
So you've
and
had those moments?
of course, yes.
Yeah. No, but have you also had
Yeah,
those
the first year was really tough,
Yeah.
but it comes easier.
It comes easier.
Yeah.
Right. How about you, Pierre?
Honestly, no.
No?
No.
Like, there's no day you felt, oh,
No,
God, this is not what I thought would be like.
Not what I thought. 100%, I can say that almost daily.
Yeah.
I'm always surprised that even sitting here,
Yeah.
I didn't anticipate this. So I think maybe Rwanda on my side has exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
So I think I've been really fortunate. So I think
Perfect.
I've been able to go beyond what I thought it was even going to be.
All right.
So definitely no.
Perfect. Thank you so much for making time to be on this particular
Thank you.
conversation. And that's where we bring down the curtains to this very important conversation. Thank you for being a part of it. We'll see you again, of course, anytime soon. And thank you so much for watching CNBC Africa, where we are fast in business worldwide. As always, my name is Eugene Anangwe. Goodbye for now.